beyinde kan kalmaz, kan mideye iner, oksijen azalır, azalınca doğal olarak uyku gelir. Hani haberiniz olsun. Biz onun için yaptık bunu. Adrenalin biraz daha harekete geçsin, hazım daha kolaylaşsın, o 2 saati kısa zamanda aşalım diye. İlk bölüm gerçekten oldukça heyecanlıydı. Sizler projenin içinde bulunan insanlarsınız. Dışında olan değerli konuklarımız da varmış. İlk kez aramıza katılanlar, onlarla da konuştuk. Oldukça heyecan verici, oldukça güzel hazırlanmış. Her anlamda ikramı doyurucu bir programı birlikte gerçekleştiriyoruz. İkinci bölümde yine aynı şekilde önemli isimlerle bir araya geleceğiz. Şimdi ben PMI Türkiye Başkan Yardımcısı Sayın Mustafa Hafızoğlu'nu buraya davet ediyorum. Bakalım Sayın Hafızoğlu bize neler söyleyecek.
Öğleden sonraki oturuma hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Tekrar. Esasında yoğun bir programımız vardı. Ama buna rağmen neredeyse on time gidiyoruz. Çok kısa bir gecikmemiz oldu. Öğleden sonraki oturuma geçmeden önce ben biraz geçmişteki zirvelerden bugünkü zirveye bir yolculuk yaptıracağım size kısaca. 2011'de savunma zirvesini ODTÜ KKM'de yaptık. 2013'te yine ODTÜ KKM'de savunma zirvesi gerçekleştirdik. 2015'te kamuya ve telekom sektörüne yönelik kalkınma zirvesini gerçekleştirdik ve bu sene bir zirve daha gerçekleştiriyoruz. İlk 2 zirvemiz gerçekten başarılı bir sponsorluk sonrasında tüm katılımcılara ücretsizdi. 3. zirvemizde de ücret oldukça düşüktü ve bu seneki zirvemizde de içerikteki kaliteye baktığınızda kaliteyi ciddi anlamda arttırdığımızı düşünüyoruz. Ona kıyasladığınızda gerçekten düşük olduğunu değerlendiriyoruz. Umarım siz de öyle değerlendiriyorsunuz. Bunun sebebi de proje yönetimine inanmış kurumların sayısı artmaya başladı ve bu konuda bizi gerçekten sivil toplum örgütü olarak destekliyorlar. O yüzden burada yazılı olan Microsoft, TürkSat, iWork Better, FNSS, Macfit, Rota, Imperitek, Projeler Fonlar.com, BT Haber, Business Ankara, Salih Ertuğrul, bulunduğumuz mekan Sermodern, Radyo ODTÜ, MSI dergimiz, MCE, Workington, Etki Grup, AB İlan ve Eurosys Consulting'e gerçekten içten bir alkışla teşekkür etmek istiyoruz. Öğleden sonraki programımızın ilk konuşmasını tanıştırmak için arkadaşlardan kendisinin özgeçmişini istedim. Ama sonra bir şey fark ettim. Programları toplarken, programlarla ilgili bilgileri, özgeçmişleri, sunumlarıyla ilgili detayları toplarken 2 konuşmacıdan özgeçmişi istemediğimizi fark ettim. Hangi 2 konuşmacı olabilir? Unutmuşuz gerçekten. Aaron ve Phil. Sonra biz niçin bunlara Keynote Speaker dediğimizi şu anda anlıyorum. Yani o kadar fazla zaten yaptıkları ortada ki özgeçmiş istemek aklımıza bile gelmemiş. Phil ile ben şahsen 2010 yılından beri tanışıyorum. PMI vasıtasıyla tanıştım. PMI'nin öğleden önceki oturumlarda sıkça bahsedildiği gibi proje yönetiminde liderliğin önemini ve farkındalığını bilen bir yapısı var. Ve kendisinin bir proje yönetim PMI'nin liderlik enstitüsü adında bir enstitüsü var. Ve burada liderlik anlamında mümkün olduğu kadar kendisine gönüllülük yapanları geliştiriyor ki hem bulundukları ortamı geliştirsinler bu liderler hem PMI'daki bu faydayı tüm insanlara aktarabilsinler. 2010 yılında da bu PMI'nin liderlik enstitüsü kapsamındaki Leadership Institute Masterclass'ına beraber katıldık. Dünyanın farklı yerlerinden 17 proje yöneticisini davet etmişlerdi. Chapter lideri olan ve kendisiyle Amsterdam'da tanışma fırsatı olmuştum. O günden beri liderlik konusunda farklı bakış açıları, mindset, oluşturma ve bunları uygulama alanlarında konuşmalarını takip ediyorum. Ve nihayetinde Türkiye'ye de gelir misin diye davet ettiğimde hiç tereddüt etmeden kendisi Türkiye'ye geldi. Hem de dün Barcelona'da PMI'nin Uluslararası Kongresi'nde bir sunum yaptıktan sonra gece buraya geldi. Bugün de bizlerle beraber. Kendisinden çok keyifli bir sunum dinleyeceğimizden şüphem yok. Çünkü ben benzer sunumlarını dinledim. Soft skill'ler anlamında, bakış açımız geliştirme anlamında, kendimizi geliştirme anlamında, liderlik anlamında çok önemli ipuçları vereceğini düşünüyorum ve alkışlarınızla kendisini sahneye davet etmek istiyorum.
So I want to thank you all for this kind invitation. I'm truly honored. It's been 7 years since Mustafa and I have been together in the First Leadership Institute Master's class. And we're a unique family at this point. I'd like for just a moment for all the volunteers that are associated with this event to stand up for a moment and face the crowd. These are the people that have truly made this a spectacular event. Thank you very much. You know, we're in a unique place in this profession that we're leaders. Yes, we're project leaders, but we are also leaders. And despite our country of origin, despite our gender, there's a common theme. We're people. And this is what leadership is about. It's about connecting heart to heart with other people. And so today, I want to take you on a journey. We're going to talk about two worlds. We're going to talk about the what world. Those are the things we do. And I'm going to talk about the how world. That's how we connect with people. So the key here is being transparent. And being transparent is also being vulnerable. And this is kind of scary sometimes. The biggest part that separates us from other animals, other than language, is that we experience emotion. And the emotion is really what's important in terms of leadership. We have to be technically competent. We have to have strategic skills. It's a must. It's a given. The place that I'd like to encourage you today is to dig deeply into the leadership side, even deeper into you as a person. So one of the things that happens is that we give off energy. Most of us, I mean, when I was a young man, you know, I'd go to science class and they go, oh, you're 60% water. Wow, okay. Now, the new physicists say we're 99% energy. And it's that energy that we give off that makes a difference. Everything. This podium is made of energy. This clicker is made of energy. It just vibrates at a different level. Very, very low level, so it's so dense. People vibrate at different levels of energy too. And it's our obligation as a leader to understand the level of energy that we vibrate at and raise that up. And then connect with the people that are on our project so that we inspire them and raise their energy up too. And when we do this, then the strategy, then the skills come together, and we can create incredible things. So today, I just want to talk a little bit about the journey of the PMO, because it's in danger of it's in danger of dying. It's about to be, it could be extinct. It's going the way of the dinosaur. So, I want to avoid the black tag. So if you get in an accident, you get triage. If you get a black tag, that's it, you're dead. No more. So how do we avoid the black tag of the PMO? So let me tell you just a little bit about myself. These are things about me that have created the character that I am. So a long time ago, I was in the military, an airborne ranger. And there I learned some important things about integrity and accountability. I've been a project manager since 1970. Yes, it's true. And in that world, working with cross-functional teams, I understand about creative collaboration. I'm a lifelong learner. That's why all those alphabet letters are behind my name. I'm curious about things and I keep trying new things. And I apply it back into the craft of project management. How many of you know these little wooden puzzles? You've seen these before? Yes. Okay. So you know that this is just a little system. This pig in that barrel, it's the same pieces, just different shapes. I used to get food and drink when I was in college. I'd take these to a place and somebody would go, oh, let me try it. I can put it back together. And pretty soon there'd be 18 pieces and they go, can't do it. And I'd say, you know what? I'll bet you a meal and some drink that I can put it together blindfold. And if I can't, then I buy you, okay? All through college, I ate very well. So, the people at the top, over here, the woman is my wife. The man is my business colleague. The young man by himself is my son. And the man and woman is my daughter. They're important to me because they have helped me learn compassion. So I carry these with me all the time. Enough about me, let's continue on. So, we've talked early today already about the talent triangle. I'm going to touch about it a little in terms of the strategy, in terms of technology, but I'm going to dig deeply into the leadership side. So, there's an interesting thing called the inflection point. And you're going along, and then all of something happens. And you can either go up, and things become even better, or they go down. When I started thinking about this challenge with the PMO, I thought of this inflection point. Because when PMOs start, boy, the project managers get so excited. And the executives, oh, we're doing the right thing. We're going to get things done. Because they expect the PMO to help deliver results. But then things happen. And in most cases, it's not because we understand project management and the principles and the techniques. It's because we haven't aligned to the strategic side and we haven't paid attention to the leadership side, the connection person to person. So, this is a grim reality. Do you realize that 66% of the PMOs that start at year one, 3 years later, they're gone? That's a pretty drastic mortality rate. not good. So, in another way of looking at it, take a look at the person to the left, take a look at the person to the right. One of you won't be here in 3 years if you were a PMO. This is not good. Why is this happening? Well, here we go. Some more grim reality. We've seen these numbers. People have talked about them this morning. There's some more here. Here are, as I've gone through and looked at all the reasons that the PMO failed, this is kind of the consolidated list of the things that really were the points of failure. Do you see anywhere in there that it says they don't know how to schedule? They don't know how to write a project plan or a charter? No. It's all about other things. And so, as we go through, I want to talk about what has happened that has created this level of failure. Oh, yes, more grim news. And these are the ones that I thought were really, really important. Can you believe it? Somebody starts an organization, a project management office, and they don't have a formal approach. Now, the opposite of that is they have an approach and they force it on everybody else. That's the project police. The biggest one, the most shocking one for me, was the one in the center. The level of trust is exceedingly low with project management offices. How's that possible? That was the question I was asking myself. And much to what we've heard from Aaron, most of the project offices are operational oriented, not strategic oriented. It's a fatal flaw. It's a fatal flaw. We'll talk a little more about it. So, and if that weren't enough, then we have the instance of where project managers are starting to be seen this way. This is how they're characterized. This is how people see them in the business. Other people see them. We may think that we're really good and we know everything, but when other people see us doing this isn't good. I wonder where I've seen this behavior before. Oh, we need to avoid this, okay? So how is it possible that that bad behavior continues? Yes. And when the troubled times come and failure starts to creep in, then it feels like we're swimming with the sharks, or at least dangling on the rope right over the sharks. When the time gets dark, and we all know what it feels like when the dark times hit, then this is really a time to regroup, because we have one or two paths, and this is where the mindset comes in. Some people think that if I don't succeed, I'm a failure, and that's it. Other people, they go, wow, that didn't work. Let me see what I can do differently. And each time, because they're intent on the goal, they're intent on being in service to the company or to the community, and they're working with other people to do that, then ultimately they succeed. I like this quote because it reminds me that when things are tough and that we might be failing, it's really a time to regroup, rethink, use some new ideas, and we've got some really good ones so far today. Use these new ideas to sow the seeds for future success. Okay, now enough about the gloom and doom. What do we do about it? What do we do about it? So here are some action steps that I'm proposing. Now, we've heard about simplicity. Wow, wow, wow, please. You know, one of the things that I have done is I'm a PMI scheduling professional. Whew. I used to do project schedules that went forever. 2-3 year plans, we'd schedule them out. We'd do PERT charts that would cover this wall. They were huge. Now today, it's all on one sheet of paper. Because what happens is, that's good modeling, it's good information, but the fact of the matter is, it's so much information, people can't comprehend it. So if you can't get what you're trying to do on 1 or 2 sheets of paper, then it's a challenge. Okay, first and foremost, we have to pay attention to the customer. So this is the beginning of the shift of mindset. Now, we all know the customer is important, because if the customer didn't have a project, then we wouldn't have work, right? So it's more than that, though, and that's where I want to go. So here's a question to ask yourself. As you're working in the project management world, which level are you operating at? I know PMOs and project managers that just sit in their office waiting for somebody to go, I need some help. They're not talking to anyone, they're not networking, they're not trying to find out how they could be of help in the business. They're just sitting in their office. Then there are others that they've had some success with a project, and they go, oh yeah, the organization starts to see, you can help us get one project done. And kind of the word slowly spreads. This is good. The problem with that is that if that becomes your sole identity, then that's all you're ever going to do. So we need to be able to bring our level of service up so that we become a trusted advisor. So people come and seek us for solutions because there's that mutual respect and understanding going on. And then ultimately, when you really, really of value to an organization is when you become a strategic partner. Now, is it just as simple as saying, I'm going to be a strategic partner? As you can remember from Aaron's presentation, no, it's not that simple. Is it just about mastering the business and the knowledge of the business? I'd submit no. Is it about mastering all the skills, the technical skills around being a project leader? I'll also submit the answer is no. You have to have those components. Don't get me wrong. You have to understand the business. You have to be truly competent in the skills and the ability of being a project manager. What's most important, though, is to be a leader and connect with people. So, leadership, it's the ability to set direction, to inspire, motivate, and influence others to produce results. If we don't know how to set direction, and the nuances that Aaron talked about in terms of refocusing on how we set direction, it isn't just the project direction, it's how the direction of the project aligns to the business. It's absolutely critical. We have to be able to connect with people and inspire them, influence them. Can we make people do things? Well, there is some coercive power, yes. But how long does that truly last? Sooner or later, what will happen is the people will get tired, they'll leave, they'll start to act out. Because if you don't treat people with respect, if we don't respect the humanity of everyone that we encounter, it will create resistance. If we don't produce results, we're out of the game. Producing the right results is really the issue. So, here's my outrageous claim. Executives state we're to produce results. They'll talk to us about it. They'll give us that charter. An unspoken expectation is that we facilitate change and create a collaborative culture. Anytime we engage in a project, we're changing something. We're changing something about a design, we're changing something about a business, we're changing the way we interact with customers. And so to be able to gracefully facilitate that change so that people embrace it, this is key. To have that culture of trust, a trust-based culture, where we can have conversations where people from different points of view can argue, disagree. And those disagreements are always about something around the project and never become personal. How do we do that? You've all seen, at least I have, where in the heat of a discussion, we start talking about technology or an approach, and then all of a sudden, we know that it shifts and it becomes personal. And how detrimental that is to the team, to the culture. So what do we do about that as project managers? How many people have read Patrick Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team? Show of hands. Okay. If you haven't, I encourage you to read this book. It's an easy read. It's a story. And it talks about why it's so important to build trust at the team level. And I'm going to submit that it's not only at the team level, but it's at the level of your colleagues. It's the level of the executives above you, and it's with your clients. If you don't have that level of trust, then you will always run the risk of failing. Because at some point, you'll make a mistake, and if you've created distrust, it'll be unforgiving, and you'll have a tough time recovering. So, that managing trust and managing conflict, building trust and managing conflict are important. The top part of that pyramid, we know this as project managers, how to focus on results, how to make and help people understand that they're accountable. That center part, that commitment, that's about traction and velocity. Does your team, are they really focused on the results they need? Do they believe it? Are they committed to it? And are they moving forward as fast as possible? If not, then we have people going, well, did you hear what Jimmy said? Did you hear what Joseph said? You know, he did this to me, she did that to me, all this other stuff. And when we're talking about the injustices that someone did or another organization did to us, we're not working on the project. We're losing commitment. So, I said earlier, I want to talk about what and how. This is the key distinction. What are the things we do, the actions we take, so that we have a strategic direction? The what is how we build a charter, how we build a project plan, how we build a schedule, how we build a risk plan or a communication plan. It's how we monitor and make adjustments. Those are all actions. That's the what side of the world. It's huge. And the PMBOK, if you ever look at it and take a real hard look, it's filled with what. And as Aaron said, it doesn't tell you much about how to do those things. That's another story. Significantly, the part on leadership is only about maybe 1/10 of the entire PMBOK. It doesn't give us, it kind of gives us things that we ought to think about, but what do we do? How do we lead? This is unknown. And where do you go to university to learn how to be a leader? The answer is be a project manager, run a division, run a team, and through that experience, you'll be a leader. What I suggest is what you're learning is more about the what, because you're not being educated and exposed to the how. So we'll dig into more of the how right now. But before we do that, I want to finish off the what side. 3 levels of the PMO. So what's really key for me is that some people start off, some organizations start off because they have an urgent need. A project is in trouble that's critical to the business. So they get the project managers together and they save the day. And the executives go, wow, that was good. Let's make a PMO. When the folks that are doing that and the executives that are doing that only are focused on the bottom rung there, that's where you can stay forever. Now, if you're a little more fortunate, then you go, well, you know what? There's a lot of projects going on. So we need some way that manages the flow of resources among all these projects. We need visibility so we can set priorities and things like that. So we can look at the benefits. And they may evolve into program management. A fatal error on most PMO starts is that strategic part is never addressed. And it isn't easy to just enter that door because you have to trust, you have to have the trust of the executives before that door opens. So, what do we do? Oh, this is my seeing eye chart for you, okay? These are different things about the levels of maturity around the PMO. This is help us understand a little bit more of things that we need to be doing. This is still the what world and the tools around it. So, what I encourage you to do is take a look at your PMO from those 5 levels of maturity and the 3 types of PMOs and go, where are we today? Are we down here? And are we going over here? Or are we going over here? So that you have a strategy in mind and you begin to understand what are the skills and knowledge that you need strategically, project management-wise, and leadership-wise to make that happen. So now, I'm going to shift gears. We've talked about what? We've talked about 2 sides of the pyramid, very lightly. The strategy and the project management skills. I want to talk about a different perspective of leadership. And this is a perspective that is first needs to come to us. Each of us needs to take a hard look in the mirror. Very hard look in the mirror. And see what we see. And so I'm going to give you some things, because what happens is we have mindsets. So one of the great learnings for me about mindset was the Project Management Leadership Institute Master's Class. You know, I thought, you know, I've done things all over the United States. I've lived in different countries, worked in different countries. But I was just a visitor. What happened in the Master's Class is it extended my understanding of the world. What I realized is that we're in relationship all the time. And we need to care as much for the people we're in relationship with as we do ourselves. So what happens with this is we have these mindsets. And in PMI, particularly in EMEA, in the European Asian culture, you get to meet all different kinds of people from all different countries. And so when it comes to the cultural mindset, we have some flexibility. We see things differently. Think about how your perception of people have changed from the time you grew up as a child to went to school, to university, and now working in the field that you're working in now. Things have changed. That's one mindset. Here's the deal about mindset. Ask yourself, excuse me, do you believe that the way you see the world is fixed, or do you have a growth mindset? I'm going to talk about 3 unique aspects of that mindset. And this is all about what's happening inside of us as project managers. It's equally important because not only is it happening inside of us, but it's happening with our team, it's happening with the executives that manage us, it's happening with our customers, and it's happening with our colleagues. And we don't necessarily see the same world. There are naturally occurring differences. So the first one I want to talk about is 2 ways of working. This is that outward mindset. So one way, everything that happens is about me. I'm oriented to, am I a success? Does other people, does everybody see that I'm successful, that I'm good? And so in this way, somebody that's outside my world, they are doing things for only one reason, so I can be successful. Another way, the outward mindset, is that I'm really in a servant position, a servant leader. What I'm doing is in service to someone else so that they can be successful, so that their life can be better. Now, here's the part that starts to get strange. If I'm thinking about me only, a me-centric point of view, all I'm worried about is what's happening for me, then I take on an attitude that I'm better than somebody else because I have more education, I've done more things, I have more alphabets behind my name, whatever. Or if I'm a senior person in an organization, then that attitude is I deserve to be treated a certain way. I deserve to have certain perks. I deserve to have the corner office just because I'm here. Now there's another one. If I'm looking down or looking up to someone, I feel like I'm not worthy, then it becomes I'm less than. That doesn't happen too often, but it shows up if somebody gets an award and I didn't get an award, and if I'm jealous, that's where that attitude starts to show up. Then there's another one that comes with it that says, I must be seen as a successful person. I'm a little worried that somebody's going to find out that I really don't know what I'm talking about. So I puff myself up and act like I'm really important. Each one of these creates a barrier with other people. And that barrier reduces our effectiveness and our ability to influence. So this is a slide about when those battles start to happen.
I know you didn't think anyone would catch you, but you just slammed your door into my car. The least you can do is say you're sorry, lady.
You don't have to take that tone. It's not like I'm hurting your resale value.
I'm sorry. See? Like that.
So, when those emotions come out and we've not treated somebody well, it may not be like this in the parking lot, but we know that it can happen. And this is a dangerous thing. What can we do about this? Let's talk a little more. So, this is the shift that makes a difference. So, the top one I talked about before, it's everybody looking, and I think they need to help and support me. The other one, notice where the triangle is. It's pointed to the customer. It's pointed to the manager. And that's an illusion that I have an outward mindset. It's an illusion that I care about other people. What it's really saying is, that triangle, I'm doing things for that other person, but guess what? One important thing. I forgot to ask what they want. What's important to them? And so, by asking that question, so we know what's important to our client, how do they measure success? And coming back and adjusting our actions so we deliver so they're successful. That's a key. But it's not just with the client. It's with our colleagues. It's with our teammates. So that what we're doing is helping each and every one of them. So, for breakthrough results, having that outward-facing mindset, first thing is we have to be absolutely clear in all four directions what is the hopes and aspirations that this project has for the client. What are their fears? What are their biggest concerns? Because if we don't know those, we can't help mitigate. So being absolutely crystal clear from a client's perspective. But also, you know, people could join our team. Are we going to treat them like a tool? Like someone that is there only to do our bidding, to write code or find requirements? Or are we going to treat them with respect and find out what they're trying to learn? How we can promote their spirit? How we can promote their gifts? That's an outward mindset. So, find out what those outside dreams are. What are those outside fears? And what are we going to do conscientiously to reduce those or increase them? And then come inside and go, okay, now that I know that, what are the actions I need to take to support the client? What are the actions that I need to take to support my manager or the executives? What are the actions I need to take to support my teammates? What are the actions I need to take to support my colleagues? And honestly, it sounds like, oh my gosh, this in a project too? But guess what? Those things happen in a nanosecond. It's just like what happened to me today. I was having lunch, and I was enjoying that fabulous meal, and oops, I dropped something on my beautiful tie. And the gentleman that was at the bookstore saw it like that. In that nanosecond, he could have done one or two things. Nothing. But no, he reached in, I don't know where he came with it, but he gave me a little towelette so that I could clean my tie, so my beautiful tie is still beautiful. That thoughtfulness, that second of thoughtfulness, did that take any time? No. But it's that outward mindset. So we have opportunities all the time to execute that way, to honor the humanity of other people. And if we just start thinking about those subtleties, then once we do that, what's important is to measure how well we're doing. The motto of my company and the people that we work with is we measure our success by the impact we have on others. So we get the metrics. And this is one of the major failures of the PMO. When I work with PMOs and I do a survey in the beginning, I ask them, what do you do? How do you know that you're delivering what you promise? And guess what the answer is? On time, on budget, within scope, right quality. No one says, we've reduced the operational costs of this client by X. We've increased the level of service for the client. We've reached out to a new market segment because of what we delivered. They failed to gather those kind of metrics and report them back to the executives. So when push comes to shove and people are starting to get unhappy with the way the PMO is, and the executives look at it and go, oh my goodness, this is a very expensive proposition. If they have those metrics and they treat people with humanity, they're successful. They stay around. If, in fact, they've not treated people well in all four directions, and they don't have those outside metrics, then they're part of the 66%. So, here's what happens when you take that outside triangle view. It builds trust because what we're doing is operating with those bullet points. It's not about hoarding information. It's not about making me look good. It's about having the team look good, having our colleagues look good that have supported us, even in a little way, to be able to acknowledge their share of how come we're successful. Okay, so now let's get to the heart of it. How many people have read anything about emotional intelligence? Quite, oh, good, good. How many people have read Daniel Goleman's book from start to finish? Yeah, okay. A couple brave souls. In 1999, when it came out, I was so excited. I got the book, and every time I started to read, I fell asleep. It turns out, I found out years later, that this is a scientific study. He's a behavioralist. And so he had this hypothesis, and he did this study that said, you know what, it's interesting how people that can have a genius IQ and aren't successful in business, and just regular people are very successful. How's that possible? So he made that scientific study, cleaned it up a little bit, and published a book. That's not for me. Fortunately, other people have done good books. But I want to talk about this for a second. Because what he said is there's two major components, that personal competence and that social competence. And those are the sub-bullets inside of it. Personally, do we know our emotions and behaviors? Do we know if we're treating people like we're better than they are? Do we know that we're treating people like I deserve? Those decisions happen in a nanosecond. And usually what happens is when we don't treat people well, we come up with a list of reasons of why it's okay. Like, I know that I should share some scheduling information with somebody, but he was a jerk to me the other day. So, I'm busy right now. And I'll be glad to help you. When do you need it by? Oh, in a week or so? Gosh, I'm so busy for the next 3 weeks. Come and see me after that and I'll help you. A lot of good that does. I'm still looking good, but I haven't helped. So, knowing that emotion and being aware of it and managing that emotion. There's a saying that an overabundance of a strength is a weakness. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. The other part of it is the social side of it, the social competence. How aware are we of other people's emotions and behaviors? And do we use that information to sustain those trust-based relationships? So, about 7 years ago, I met a medical doctor. His name was Dr. Friedland. He lives in San Diego. And I got to talking to him about this emotional intelligence. He said, well, you know, it's interesting because I did a study. I said, oh, really? Tell me about it. He said, well, I put sensors on people's heads and hooked it to the machine, and I stressed them out. And what I found is the blood moved from the front of the head to the back of the head, down inside. So turns out, in the front, this is an area called the prefrontal cortex. This is where logic and creativity reside. This is really what makes us human. That back part is the amygdala. This is what's left from our days as Neanderthals, you know? And that's where we either instantaneously, when we come to a situation, we are going to fight, we're going to flee, or we're going to freeze. Now, I always knew about fight or flight. Freeze was kind of a new one for me. It's the reaction of, don't eat me, I'm a rock. I'm really not, but I'm trying to let the animal know. Okay, so here's what Dr. Friedland did. He saw that movement. So then he did blood draws, pulled blood out, because the amygdala releases cortisol, and it starts to get the body ready to die. You know, it's a good thing. If we're walking across this busy intersection in ANKARA, and here comes a big bus, we don't want to go, wow, that bus is pretty big. Oh my goodness, it's moving kind of fast. I better start moving out of the way. No, we want it to kick in and get out of the way. So that's a good thing. When it comes to civilized society, when it comes to working in projects, it's not so good. Because what happens is that cortisol starts to affect the way we think. So one of the last things he did, when he did the blood draws, before, during, and after. So before, blood levels normal. Under stress, cortisol goes up. After, the cortisol didn't disappear. It took 4 hours. And if he stressed somebody again within 30 minutes, it would take another 8 hours. And if he multiple stressed, if they thought about the incident, it could take 24 to 48 hours for the cortisol to clear our bloodstream. So he said, how does that affect us? So he did a problem-solving test, before, during, and after. So here were the scores before. What do you expect happened with a cortisol cocktail? And as time went by, did they recover completely? No. They came up, but they were never as high as the start point until the cortisol cleared the bloodstream. So Dr. Friedland, after I talked to him, said, so Doc, what did you learn? He said, what I really documented is under stress, we say and do dumb things. We're stupid. So let me show you an example of the amygdala cocktail, the cortisol in our bloodstream. Oh, I forgot. One other piece. Then an example. So it's more complex than that. We're sensing beings. Do you know that within 10 feet, we have a notion of somebody's friendly or not? And that's why the neuroscientists are saying that the heart is part of this information system. So I talked about the amygdala, and I talked about the prefrontal cortex, but there's two other pieces that are really important. And that is the limbic system and the neocortex. So the limbic system, just think of it as our personal mass data storage device. Every good thing that happens to us in life gets stored in there. All the good tastes, all the good smells, all the good feelings, all the good memories, they're stored there. The bad side is everything bad is stored there too. All the bad tastes, all the bad smells, all the bad feelings, all the terrible things that happen in our life are stored in that mass cortex or in that mass data storage device. Now, the neocortex is the strategy center. So there's biomechanics at work here. So what happens when there's trust, trust releases oxytocin. It's the counterpart of cortisol. So let's go to the bad side first, and then we'll finish with the good side. So when cortisol gets released, then we go to the limbic system and we start pulling out all those bad things that have ever happened because we know we're going to die. Something bad is going to be bad. It's going to get worse. And so then we take those bad memories and we go into the strategy center. And what kind of strategies are we building? We're building strategies that are defensive, that attack other people, that create barriers, because we're biologically, chemically responding. Our emotions are driving that. On the other side, that prefrontal cortex releases oxytocin. The oxytocin goes into the limbic system. Yes, that's right. All the good things come out. All the good memories. All the good things are coming forward. And it goes into the neocortex, and we build strategies around collaboration and trust. All this happens inside us. So part of my challenge to each and every one of you is to dig deeply into this and understand how you're affected. Because those little things make a huge difference in terms of our relationships in all four directions. So now, I think now is the example of the amygdala cocktail in action. Maybe. Yes.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh, I don't need this.
No.
I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out there?
Do you have a phone?
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello? There are two people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? Help! I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, there's not enough left to do, is there?
Hello? Hey, don't worry about it. I'll fix it in a second.
He said he can fix it. All right. All right. That's more like it. He says he can fix it.
Oh. So, okay, I've got just a few more minutes. I want to go into one more thing and then we'll stop. The question becomes, how can you dig deeply and start to understand those mindsets and how they create barriers? What I would like to offer is the answer is over here in the DISC. How many people have heard of the DISC assessment? A few, okay. How many people have heard of Myers-Briggs? A whole bunch of people, I'm sure. Okay, the difference. Myers-Briggs is a psychological assessment. The DISC is a behavioral assessment. So I'd like you to look at these 4 pictures and choose a bird or a set that responds the most to you. This is not a head thing, it's a feeling. Which one do you think is most like you of those 4? Okay, so remember it, because here we go. Now, it's an idea. This isn't scientific, okay? I do assessments. I've done over 1,700 assessments of this. The assessments hold the truth in it. Here's what's important. So if you understand which bird you are, just remember whether you're the D, red, I, yellow, S, green, C, blue. Because I'm going to talk about these things for just a few minutes and then I'm going to end. Okay. So, real quickly, that D, that red, that driver, that's that person with a command voice. It says we've got to get this done. Now, when some people in here start to hear that sharp voice, you're probably starting to get a little itchy because you don't like to be talked that way. That yellow is the optimist. They see the big picture. And they're always going, wow, we can get this done. That green, that S, they're the consummate team player. They can put a plan together. They really connect with people. That C is the thinker, someone that understands the rules, understands process, really believes in facts and logic. So those are mindsets that we have. And we've learned this from the age 10 or 12. So how does this start to work? There's a couple other things that happen here. The D's and I's, they are driven for timely results. That's the most important thing for them. Now, the D's, let's just get it done. The I's, let's get it done, but we're going to have some fun. The S's and the C's, it's about quality results. If we have the right plan and we work together in harmony, we can do this. That's the S. The C goes, I know the process works. If we think of the right facts, get the right information, and use the right process, done deal. Quality every time. Can you hear the different ways people start to process the world? These are naturally occurring differences. And if that wasn't enough, there's one more. The people that are yellow and green, they're people-oriented. That's another dominant way they see things. They care about people. They don't like conflict so much. The red and the blue, it's about task. The tasks to get things done on time, the tasks to get quality. My point is, we need to know about ourselves because it is our own bias, it's our own mindset. And we have to be culturally aware of how other people see the world. And to be able to adjust our language to speak uniquely to that mindset. I call this speak the language of leadership. Because what we're doing is talking to a person in a way that it means something to them. Now, oops, this way. Here's a slide. How do you know this? So the best way of knowing it is take an assessment. Okay? The next best thing is study this chart. Because what I'm talking about is behaviorally oriented. So there are 4 factions. The tone of voice, the volume of voice, the pace of voice, and gestures. And if we understand those behavioral clues, we can find which bucket people live in. And so what happens then, if we want to make exquisite rapport, if we want to talk exquisitely to a person, then we speak their language. So it's incumbent on me, if I live in that red side, where I talk real loud and point my fingers and talk, that if I'm talking to somebody that is a C, I lower my voice. I speak more precisely. I talk about process, and I talk about what facts do you know that I need to know so we can get done on time. So I can shift. Now, oh, okay. I give you the whole thing, it's faster. So, under pressure, here's what happens. See all the things in the top row, row 1? Those are attributes of our skill, whether you're red, yellow, blue, or green. Those are our main attributes of why we're successful. Now what happens is under stress, when the amygdala cocktail kicks in, then we still believe in our heart of hearts that we're operating at the top row, but no, not true. Other people start seeing us in those behaviors below. And if we're really stressed out, we're in the bottom row. So, once again, knowing us so that we can control ourselves, knowing that that's the capacity that we have and how other people are going to see us. Because when we're operating at the lowest level, we're not being resourceful. We're not operating at our very best. Now, the other part of this is knowing what's going on with your colleagues, because each of us has a unique set of skills, whether it's a D, I, S, or C. The skills are absolutely important. And oh, by the way, a successful project manager can be any one of those styles. What makes the difference is their ability to shift gears and communicate to the other styles easily, so that they honor the humanity of another person by speaking to them in a way they process the world. So, I'll do this quickly. PMO is open for business. We start using the leadership component, we will stay in business. And we need to have the right what? It's a strategy. It's that PMO or the project skills. But we also need the right how. We need to be able to dig deep in there so we can honor the humanity of the people we're working with. And when we do that, we add value to the organization. So, simple things. Do these. This is what a project office is all about. Hit all those levels. But use the right mindset. Build that trust. Build that capacity to have really good arguments about things, but not make them personal. Be outward facing. And at some other time, I'd like to talk to you about this pyramid. It's really amazing, but not today. Avoid the amygdala cocktail. It's the worst thing that can happen to us. If we let our emotions take over, we're going to say things that we're going to regret. Pay attention to those clues. We give behavioral clues all the time. By mastering this, your leadership skills will come up. And by paying attention to this, your emotional quotient, your EQ, goes up too. So the more that you use outward facing, the more you use these communication skills, your EQ level rises. So, as leaders, we do have this obligation to produce results. It's what's expected. And we have a choice. Are we going to use power or are we going to use force? Force is coercive. Force is coercive. It's punitive. Power is inspiring. It opens the door to compassion. It connects people heart to heart. So we have a choice. Which side of the world do we want to operate on? Force or power? I encourage you to operate with power. Be inspirational. Dig deep so we know that we can communicate with purpose and connect heartfully. So, our obligation, yes, it's to produce results. It's also to deeply honor the humanity of the people that we work with. It is most important. Be a great leader. Be a great leader. Dig into the leadership side. Dig into the strategy side. Dig into the skill side of project management. Change your world. Change the world around you. Change the customers' lives. Change the people that you work with. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dilek Koçak hanımefendiyi davet ediyorum ben buraya. Başkan yardımcımız. Kendisine teşekkür etmek üzere.